You probably already know who Necros is. He is a Genji with a very almost trademarked style of play. He's known to be the quote-unquote fastest Genji there is. He does a lot of these very fancy transition into ghost dashing, and he's a very, very aggressive and very fast Genji player. And that's what we're taking a look at today. We're breaking down Necros, taking a look at how he builds plays very fast, how he plays around the team, and even where the team composition, where his main group is much weaker than the enemies. That's what we're breaking down today. Now, of course, as always, before we start the video, press like to help against YouTube's algorithm, help spread out the video, essentially brighten my channels, light in the eyes of the YouTube gods. Always appreciate. The same goes for the comment. If you want to see more of Necros or any other pro player, streamer, content creator you want me to break down, tell me down in the comment section. It helps to spread the video, and also helps to me to gauge what you guys actually want to see for future content. Of course, if you're interested in hiring me as a private coach, it's €50 for a 2-hour session. You can hit me up on a Discord server, which is linked in the description, which you join anyway, because it's an awesome and very entertaining community. Now, today we're taking a look at mainly the way that he plays his Genji and a little bit of the pros and cons of that playstyle. I see some people that really focuses on the way that he plays his game and wants to emulate that. And emulate some of his decision making. I've had people in private code say, "Oh, well, I saw it on a stream, or I saw it done by this guy or that guy." What you need to understand is the context of a situation. I'll try to explain that in today, so you understand the context of his decision making, and also that playing in higher elos is much more different than playing in lower elos, just because of the way the enemy team will react, and also the mechanical skill and awareness of both your team and opposing team. Now, let's really just begin here at the start of the match, you would say. And you will see that he will take this. Now, some people would like to challenge main here. He doesn't seem any reason to. There's a chance there might be a sniper zone. So he's just gonna immediately move up here and start claiming some space, getting within that 15-meter range, right? So that he can actually follow up with his dashes, right? Your dash is 50 meter in range, so he needs to be within that to actually get anything done. Shooting outside of those 15 meters, right? You can say, 17 meters can kind of, 17 meters, 18 meters kind of, because you can walk and then dash, right? So, but if you can't get in 15 meters very easy, and that's why we say the maximum dash range is kind of the limit, then you shooting at somebody is mainly just done to poke, to build blade, to harass, to keep yourself active, right? Potentially an HP check, right? So he's going to be pushing up here immediately and start taking a little bit of space. Very, very common Genji technique. But then he does this. This is not something that a lot of people do. Most people would run, platform here, the platform under him, and then start, maybe playing this balcony over here, start pressuring maybe some stuff into choke, right? But he climbs over and does something that some people might question in the way that he does it. And that's that. He goes up, drops, and then dashes through the Rhine. Now, yes, you could say that, he might be able to get spotted, but he's checking his areas. So there's no real chance of he getting stunned. It also allows him, to come from an angle that's unpredictable, which is more and more important in higher elos. The higher elo you get, the more important it is to use your wall climb to create unpredictable angles, because most professional players, or even high elo players, or players that start having good mechanics, starts pre-aim in corners. They pre-aim where they're assuming that you're coming from, and nobody is assuming him to drop from that height. Now you can see that he dashed through the Rhine. Now I assume that he's looking for a kill. He's most likely scouting something. Maybe there's a kill up here, but since he didn't see anything, he bunches a dash out here just to deal that extra damage and keep some pressure. But because there was no enemies, he wasn't sure if there was any enemies that might be able to follow, right? There might be a player over here, for example, right? He's not completely sure exactly if somebody maybe can follow up on the Rhine. That's why he didn't stay. And he did this to keep pressure. This is not a waste of dash, even though the rules for Swift Strike on Genji, right? The general rules, there are exceptions to these rules, is, dash if you know you can get a kill, right? So if you're 99% sure you're going to get a kill, because then you just get the reset. Or dash to escape or to position, right? Meaning if you are up here and you're getting Tesla Cannon by Winston, dash away so you don't die, right? So that is the kind of the two rules of Genji. He dashes here for what's known dashing for pressure or dashing for ult charge, which is just doing the dash just to deal damage. A lot of time, and you'll see this later on, he will dash directly onto the Rhine so you can get in shuriken range past the Ryan's shield and deal direct damage to him, which is done for exactly what you think, building up ult charge and keeping pressure. But Necros won't need his dash. Notice the positioning, notice what's going on. The Ryan was alone up at the choke, right? Number one, this Ryan could have get pushed and actually killed here. But second, there is no target right here that he's gonna have that dash for. So before the dash comes back off cooldown, before a situation where he's gonna need dash occurs, he will have it back off cooldown, which is the important context to take out of this, right? In low elos, normally there's people out of position very early here, so normally keeping this dash on cooldown allows you the opportunity to punish somebody. For example, somebody on this high ground, or somebody that is on the high ground up top here, or somebody that's like really stupid and just pushes up here or pushes up here and holds these weird angles, right? Like flanks through a hotel and holds this angle here, or pushes too far up the choke. Being able to follow up on that is very important in lower elos. Here in high elos, you see that there's no reason for him to keep that. He's just doing some poking and probably waiting out the fire strike, which is one of the reasons that he's most likely standing here. You can already see that this space is trying to ding him and deal some damage. Not really any chance of him dying, but he could, of course, have rotated to this top high ground and kept pressure from there. I'm not sure why he's staying in his main. If it's because he wants to secure the payload, or if it's because he wants to deal deflect into fire strikes and so on. Might be the case. I would assume that it's also something to do with the fact that he's streaming. So he's chatting a lot, he's talking, so he's not paying that much attention. But pushing up here and claiming space, or getting some verticality so that he's not stuck behind this Ryan shield and being a little bit closer to the choke to potentially do some follow-up might be a better option in this scenario. And remember, pros are not perfect, and not everybody thinks immediately about their decision making. There's also one of the things that I want to point out, which is a thing that happened high. Logically, this Lucio is feeding his ass off, right? Like, he's slow roaming over here, right? Coming from a very predictable angle, and should be punished. And Necros does that. In low elos, remember, there's a pretty good chance that his team also sees and will react to this, potentially killing. And Necros also has really good mechanics. There's a potential that Necros himself can just burn the Lucio really fast, because it's very predictable where the Lucio is riding right now. So, yes, it's one to stop this Lucio from being effective, so one pressuring the Lucio, but it's also because there's a chance of actually getting this kill that's much higher. In low elos, the chance of your team following up on that is questionable at best, I would say. And you have to doubt yourself if those mechanics are good or not. If you can do the follow-up on that. On top of that, there was time for a push, but he valued it higher to decide to pressure the Lucio instead of pressuring the Ryan. This is some of the stuff that we talked about with higher APM, and something that Necros does, and also most Genjis do this. You can see now, instead of looking away, right? Instead of looking away here, notice that very tiny flick. Notice how it didn't destroy his APM. He's still doing as much damage. He did a wall climb here to get to this high ground, but it didn't lose him any damage. Right? Which is very, very important. It's something that higher elo Genjis need to do, because it's all about that pressure, that extra damage to build blade, so you don't sit with the blade on 98%. Here he's pressuring, he's staying a little bit in the choke. He tried to burn the Mei, and you might say, and again, this is where I see some people in the comments and be like, oh my god, he wasted blade. Isn't it obvious that the Mei is going to ice cube? This was a really good try. Like, the Mei has already lost a good chunk of her health, and she's very far forward. He get hit by that, putting her to about half. Now that's 125. Dash and melee is 80. Why 50 plus 30? That's dash melee. Every shuriken is 28 damage. So you can see how this is pretty easily burstable, right? With, if he lands a headshot, if he lands a headshot with one shuriken, he bursts this, or 2 to the body, right? Anything above that is just bonus point, right? So this is actually really good reaction time, and him taking the opportunity and doing completely correct, right? Okay, the enemy team is going to be pushing in, and that kind of lost him some of that control of the map, and did that the enemy team could just push through and move over him. What he could have done differently here, again, he's streaming, so he's not really paying that much attention to the game, I'm assuming, compared to what he should. If he had pushed further up, there would have been a higher chance of impact, and it would also have denied some of this Diva's positioning, because Diva was holding balcony further back here, shooting down the choke. So if he had played a little bit, if he had taken the cycle control or played a little bit more aggressively in the way of taking a steeper angle, that could potentially have changed his outcome. But then again, there was 2 opportunities in the choke with squishies that he did react to very, very nicely. That could have been potential pecks, which could have gotten him through it. And nevertheless, and this is the important part, he's 74 on blade already. Because he's been active throughout the entire thing, dealing damage and pressure. Which is one of the things that you have to focus on a lot with Genji. Especially because you will be facing team compositions where your damage is, you know, far less than what you are. So you need to try to build that win condition, which is Dragon Blade a lot. Now here he gets booped. And it's... stuff like this is what I'm talking about, where his fast reaction time, his fast blade time, which is necessary in high elos, because the pros of fast blades like this, where he starts doing very, very quick dashes, is that, for example, this McCree right here cannot stun him, or it's more difficult, rather, for the McCree to stun and kill him in this position here. But because he dashes this early, right, and then get booped at the same time, it pushes him off so much, and now there's no follow. Right? So he burns a dash, which makes sure that this chain, this kill here, escapes. Because it's so easily pushed away. A way to stop that would have been to do it slower. And pop deflect instead. And then rather cancelling deflect with the dash and then trying to kill him. But again, it's a trade-off. You're much safer if you do it faster, because it's more difficult for them to stop you. But it also can end up with scenarios like this, where it's difficult for you to get a kill. And again, immediately he gets a kill, he immediately dashes again. And then he dashes to here, and there's nothing here. So now he doesn't have dash again. Right? So it's a trade-off. And this is why I'm trying to say, dashing like that, and that's a meme from his editor, I suppose. Getting one kill, as he says, getting one Lucio on a nano blade with no sound barrier popped is pretty bad. So, yeah. So that's like the pros and cons of these faster blades that he's doing. They look really sweet. They can make you theoretically safer without having to burn stuff like deflect, so you can have deflect for different scenarios and so on. But it also does that if you fuck up, and it's much easier to fuck up, it doesn't, you fuck up really bad. It gets punished very easily. And the way Necros deals with that is much faster reaction time. Like he plays from these scenarios and plays from these back of these scenarios. If he fucks something up, he plays from those scenarios really well. Here you can see him, he's doing really well at keeping pressure and staying active, right? If something gets slow, he can very easily follow up on that, right? For example, this right hand and so on. And that's an important part for a Genji player. Especially for Genji, but for most heroes, right? We want the easiest kill. We don't want a specific kill. We don't want to brute force a kill, because that normally takes a lot of time. Instead, you know, if you can kill a 200 HP Sen, or attack a 200 HP Sen, or if you can attack a 600 or like a 10 HP Hog, who do you attack, right? You attack the 10 HP Hog, right? If your entire team is focusing on Reinhardt, or you can solo dive a Sen, you focus Orion with your team and burn him if he's killable, right? Here he's being really aggressive and trying to build that blade. And just want to, again, notice how fast he built these blades because of his activeness. He's been active while I've been talking here. He's just been like active, constantly pressuring the enemy team, right? So he's just constantly building these blades up. But the important part is that he plays very tight to his team right here. He's not off angle. He's not pushing up and claiming a lot of these weird flanks and so on. He's playing relatively close to his team, dealing a lot of damage, keeping pressure on the enemy team, keeping it low, and staying within 50-meter range of the enemy team. Also, therefore, his team's targets. So he can follow up on either people that's out of position, or follow up on targets that the enemy team, that his team is focusing. Also, they're easily burned, right? And he can kind of choose which one he want to do from whatever position he's in. Here we see another blade, and this is going to be another one where he's kind of going to get one kill, and then he's trying to burn this Lucio, and they added another fucking meme in, and then he tries to burn the Lucio, and it ends up with Tim messing up and having to run after this guy, right? Which is pretty bad. So, yeah. But again, like the whole point of this playstyle for his is to play around this team. But you can still see that he's trying to off-angle still. He's still trying to off-angle. He's sometimes standing behind his Ryan shield and using it as a cover. But in a lot of scenarios, he's off-angling to one of the sides of the shield. Right now he's just playing payload. And he will actually die here because he thought he was going to get behind the Ryan shield and whatnot. But he's trying to off-angle as much as he can. This is another really good example of him trying to use walls as And by the way, if you guys think I'm going too fast with the information, I'm trying to really fill up the time efficiently in this video. Tell me down in the comment section if this is too much information too fast. Am I focusing on too much thing and showing off too much? Or is this a good speed? Do you like the amount of information that you're getting now? Feedback on these videos are really, really appreciated. So I know kind of where to pivot this for you guys. It's much easier in a private session because then you guys speak with me and we have like a conversation. But logically, you guys can't speak with me while I'm recording this, unfortunately. But this is like, again, you see this. Here's a widow, right? So he wanna push the widow or pressure the widow. And he shoots, and then he tries to do a wall climb to give him more elevation so he can engage this widow and keep on her. And this is kind of where it's like unlucky, right? This will also, of course, help him. He has 4 and 3 seconds on his 4 seconds on his dash, and 3 seconds on his deflect. So climbing here can also help him keep this position without exposing himself and waiting out cooldowns, which is really good. And he can use it to kind of give him more range, so he can drop into the window on the Widowmaker. And this is like one of those where just wall climb just doesn't work for some reason. And then he does it here again, and again wall climb doesn't work. That's one of the unfortunates with Genji deflects. Here he takes this high ground, pops deflect because he's assuming the Widowmaker will shoot him. This is something that I don't recommend. He's assuming because they have wall hacks on him, because he triggers the Venom Mine, that when he goes here, this Widow down here will shoot at him and he will deflect it to him, right? So here it looks like he's just deflecting. But normally, if this wasn't the case, right? If he didn't have wall hack and he didn't think he was going to get shot by a Widow, which happens far more in higher elos than in low elos, this deflect is a waste, right? So it's only not a waste because it's a higher elo game. Low elo games, these Widowmakers normally doesn't put that good Venom Mines, and normally don't have the reaction time to just snap onto you real easy, especially in like Platinum and so on. So remember that when you do this in your own games, that right here, it's because he's predicting this guy, but there's nobody else to pressure him. So if not, then this is a really wasted deflect, which could be really crucial to keep up. So he's gonna try to dive here, get some pressure in. He gets nanoed, which is a really, really bad nano. He's just kind of he's just trying to get some ult shots in, running into the Rhine to try to get some ult shots out of that, which didn't become much. I assume that he thought the Widow was here. And then he goes here and kind of tries to get some pressure. He disengages this because the McCree turns around. Again, this is about situational awareness. This rarely happens to gold. Normally, McCrees here don't turn. Especially like diamond and below. Crees don't turn around for a Genji. They are tunnel visioning on the choke. So if not, then he could have killed her and then chained onto him and then burned him as well. He has to evade here, reload, wait out the Diva Bomb, and then try to engage the Widow, which was a little bit risky because he didn't have his abilities, but it's fine. Here he blades, and you will see this again, where he kind of messes up a little bit, and it ends up with kind of being a bit scuffed, right? Where again, you can see the exact same thing. He's poking, whatever. He dashes here, pulls the blade, right? He dashes away from the Rhyme, which is actually really good, so he doesn't get hit by damage as he's pulling it, right? He could have dashed up into there if he wanted to, but he dashes down here, pulls the blade, right? And then he cuts dash, right? So dash to avoid some damage and just help burn it a little bit faster, but it's mainly just to avoid some damage. Goes in here, dashes here, gets messes up the targeting on the Lucio. He gets pushed, has to run after Lucio, and now he gets a kill. Now you'll be like, oh, there's 1 second, and then he dashes here. He's out of range of the Moira, and it doesn't get shit, right? So now he doesn't have his dash to help burn the Moira, which does this Moira stays alive for a relatively much longer time because he can't do that follow-up damage. That's really clean. And then he did some pressure onto her, right? So you can see that some of the issues with these faster dashes, right? If you mess them up pretty badly and end up you wasting a dash all the time. If you make them work, they're really, really powerful, and they look super flashy for stream and highlights, which is one of the things that he markets himself for, right? So they're definitely pros and cons, but that's why this is not recommended for a lot of people to do. Rather have more calculated dashes. Here you can see again stuff like this, just changing his elevation, which I commented on before. Very common Genji techniques, but a lot of people in low elos should try to adapt this if you are trying to up your Genji game. To just do these extra elevation increases, it makes it easier. Here he's once more dashing for pressure by dashing onto the Rhine's feet. Unfortunately, a grab comes through, which of course now he would have wanted that dash, but he couldn't you know, did he know that that was gonna happen? Probably not. Yeah, then he's gonna actually do one thing that you don't see often. That's the Genji staying on the payload, right? He could have pushed up here and claimed more space, but it's fine. He's helping push them with 2 to 3 players. His tanks are pushing up, and he's still playing with a 50-meter range, right? Because they have to, in the end, come and contest some of the stuff. Here you see some of his mechanics kind of come in. That's the main thing. That kind of sucks. He even tries, and this is like the thing. Like, you can see that he tries to wall climb again, and you can see again that it fucks up, right? Here, he's trying to wall climb, but it doesn't trigger. If he had wall climbed here, there's a high chance that he would have survived. Because he could have gotten up, and then he has to drop, and then he has to hit him with Ice Spike, and by the time, he could probably peek this wall and hopefully getting healed and helped, right? So there's actually a big chance that if he had landed that wall climb, that would have been much better. There's also the risk of engaging certain targets, right? If his team had followed up on the Mei, this could have changed stuff, right? He shatters here, and his Ryan decides to turn around from the Mei and go somewhere else. Necros decides to try to take the 1v1 and ends up missing some of his shots, which I still think is the right choice. I think that what he did is the right choice and should have been followed up by his Ryan, because this Mei doesn't have cube. Then you can rather burn the other guy later, because you don't want her to rebuild up her ice cube. And you just want her out of the equation, then you can rather focus fire on the rest of the team after this. So, I think that actually this is the right choice. It just doesn't work out, and that's because of it. Right? You can even see the Mei was pretty low health at the time. Mechanics doesn't always hit. It's kind of unfortunate, right? Stuff like that happens from time to time. Kind of just walking back. Yeah, and then his team wins. And I don't think we'll take a look at the defensive side, because I think this video is already pretty relatively long. Yeah, it's over 20 minutes or something like that. So I think that's all for today. As always, like, comment, subscribe. It always helps out for the channel. If you like content like this, helps spreading it out. Comment down below what you want to see in the future. And again, if you want to rank up, improve, and get better at the game, doesn't matter if you're bronze or top 500, you can hit me up on a Discord server linked down in the description and hire me as a private coach. It's 50 euros for a 2-hour session. Now, with no further ado, guys, please take care, stay positive. I love you guys very, very much. My name is Jonal, and you guys, as always, keep the enemy in your crosshair.